Hello and welcome again to the episode of Battle Ready. And today we thought we would talk about...
Ready! Ogres.
That was way delayed. Way delayed. So we've done this before. We've done it with Nighthaunt. We've done it with Daughters of Cain. We've done it with a bunch of different ones. And, you know, the Ogre book, the Ogre Mawtribes book.
Ogres, yes.
It's been out for a little while. And so this isn't really so much a review of its competitiveness or its, you know, what's in the book, because all that information's out there. Really, I think the question we like to ask is, if you're just starting Warhammer, if you're looking around for something that's going to be a cool first army to collect and put on the table and beat people up with, are the Ogres a good buy? Are the Ogres a good first army?
I would say yes.
Yes. I also agree, yes. All right, Drake, what makes them good?
They're so straightforward.
Yeah?
They, basically, this is them. Walk forward, charge, smash a bunch of things, and then do the same thing again.
Yes.
That's them.
They very much want to get into combat. You know, a lot of armies want to sort of play the movement game and dance around objectives and pull away and come back in, and they have a lot of, you know, bubbles they're controlling, buffs and stuff. And Ogres don't play that game.
No, they play the smash you eat and eat you alive game.
They play the smash and eat game. That is totally true. So I agree with you. I think it's great for a number of different reasons. First, easy to paint.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of skin, and skin can sometimes be difficult. But the models are so big, there's so much of it, and the flesh is pretty well defined that it's not that hard. And frankly, you can hit it with one thing of contrast paint and basically be good. If you want to throw a little highlights in or something, that's fine too. But it really isn't very difficult. And then the rest of them, simple pants, simple banners, simple stuff, nothing hard. You can put on little bojangles. You can put on little like knives or
meat.
A hunk of meat or a barrel or something, and then you can paint those things. That's fine. But all that is optional, so you can just do whatever you want. Yeah. It's pretty cool. On the tabletop, yeah, they're pretty straightforward. If Warhammer, you see this game and you're like, man, I want to have little toy soldiers that I can crash into their toy soldiers and kill their toy soldiers. Ogres is pretty good.
They decimated.
That's what they're all about. What about Mawtribes? So there's basically two versions, two flavors of Ogre, right? There is the Beast Claw Raiders.
Cold boys,
but they ride these big, like mammoths.
They're like this tall.
No, they're not that tall.
Like from Spear Tip.
Okay, from Spear Tip.
From Spear Tip, they're like this tall.
But they ride these big mammoths, and you end up they're really strong, most of them. You end up having a few, right? Your whole army is like
7, 8, 9.
Our army is 6 units.
Yes, and that
includes a butcher and 2 Mournfang packs. You don't get a lot on the table. Whereas the Gutbusters are sort of like your, army of ogres, where you have Gutbusters.
Yeah, it's Gutbusters.
Where you have gluttons, and they have some of them can hold guns and shoot. So you got lead belchers or iron blasters.
Yeah, iron blasters
and lead belchers. And so you get a little bit more of an army, but it's sort of the same idea, right? Every time you want to just keep charging.
Whenever ABCs, always be charging.
Always be charging. You just hit, and every time you charge, you do mortals on the charge and good mortals. You tend to get buffs when you're trying to get into combat.
You have a buff?
You're a buff to movement. When you're in combat, you get a buff to bravery. So your guys basically are constantly tipping back and forth to whatever they need, right? If they're in combat, they don't need to move so much. So buff to bravery. If they're not in combat, you want to get them into combat, so buff to movement. It's really pretty fun. And I think that it's straightforward enough that a new player will have absolutely no trouble getting into Ogre Mawtribes.
Yeah.
Especially if you start at like 1,000 points, right?
Oh yeah.
You will do fine. There is nothing difficult about that. So I guess the question I have is, all right, you're looking for at Ogre Mawtribes. So your friend comes to you and says, hey, Drake, I want to start Warhammer. I'm thinking about ogres. Should I do Beast Claw or Gutbusters? What do you think?
If you like monsters, go the Beast Claw. But if you like a whole bunch of foot ogres, go Gutbusters.
What do you think is better for a new player?
I feel like the Gutbusters.
Yeah?
Because with the Alfrost, the Beast Claws, you have to choose Mawtribes.
Yeah.
That is one thing that you have to layer on.
That's true. That's true.
They also, I feel like, will get more flavor, like from what the other armies play, because they'll have more units than 5. I feel like they'll get more flavor out of it.
I think the first thing you said, which is if you like monsters, go one way. If you like foot guys, go the other way, is probably the best advice.
Yes. It's
like buy the models you want, right? If you want lots of ogres, and when we say lots, it's a pretty elite army. So there's not,
some.
And so either way, I think you're not painting up a bunch of models. But if you like having more guys on the table, then Gutbusters is good. I do think, though, I also continue to agree with you, that if someone said, all right, I like them both equally, what would you recommend? I probably would pick Gutbusters because you get to do more.
Yes.
Right? You get to have more going on the field. You get to play in more phases, right? Because there's a lot more opportunities for shooting. You may not have a monstrous rampage depending on how you build it.
There's monsters in Gutbusters?
I don't think there's any Gutbuster specific monsters, but you can have Beast Claw in there.
Yeah. Oh, that's one thing we should talk about is if you have mixed forces, if you want mixed forces.
Yeah, so you can totally mix them up too, right? Does not require that you be all one way or the other. And I think that's a little bit different than it was in the past. Although still, most of the traits sort of go one way or the other. They're advantaged one way or the other. But if you wanted to have a Gutbuster, if you have a Beast Claw Raider, and you're like, oh, but I also want to do some Gluttons.
Have some Gluttons.
Have some Gluttons. If you have a mostly Gutbuster force, but you're like, you know what? I would really love to bring in some Beast Claw, like Stonehorn Riders, right? As a monster to use with my attack.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's available, right? There's nothing that is preventing any of that. You don't get as many battle line options, so any of those things that come in on the other side won't be battle line.
Yeah.
They're just going to be extra guys, but they're there. You can build your army. If you want one in your army, you get to have it in your army.
Could you have them as allies?
No, everything in the book is Ogre Mawtribes. They can't ally with themselves, so they would just be whatever. Okay. But they can ally in trolls.
Only trolls.
And with the new Gloomspite book, which we will talk about eventually soon.
Yeah.
Trolls are pretty good. Trolls are pretty good.
They heal.
So you could have some troll backup to your Gutbusters or even your Stonehorns. Might be pretty good.
Might be something worth noticing.
Might be pretty good. So yeah, I think from a new player standpoint, the Ogre Mawtribes might be the best book we've seen.
Really?
Yeah. So caveat, right? We don't have every army. There's things like not Iron Jaws, Flesh Eater Courts, which might be really good. We don't know. There's other armies, the Blades of Corn might be really good. We don't know. But of the ones that we have, I think actually ogres might be the best because they're easy to collect. Mm-hmm. They're easy to paint. Mm-hmm. They make a lot of sense on the table. Mm-hmm. And you get to play with your army pretty early on. I think I would be hard pressed to pick another army as the best starting army.
If you had to pick an army that was like the bet, like for their new battle tome, that we had their 2.0 battle tome, and they changed it so that it felt like you were playing that army, what army do you think would be the best for that?
Oh, the one that got the best lore, like the vibe on the tabletop? Yeah. Probably Night Haunt.
Yeah.
Night Haunt.
Because now that's for another video. Over here, I think.
Yeah, don't worry.
One of these corners.
But as far as this goes, I think it's pretty good for a new player. Now, if you're experienced and you're looking at a second or a third army, ogres are still tons of fun, right? I think ogres are really fun to play on the tabletop. The only caveat I would give is the Beast Claw Raider side, while very, very fun, is a little straightforward because at least maybe it's just the list that we built, but the list that we built has 5 units, one of which is a butcher, right? It's just like it's 5 things. It's like playing chess if you had 2 rooks, 2 bishops, and a knight, and that's it.
And a king, otherwise you'd be losing.
But I mean, you just don't have that many pieces to move around, so it's not very difficult to see what each piece needs to do. It's like, this piece needs to go there, this piece needs to go there, this piece needs to hang back, and so it was a little bit more straightforward than I personally enjoy. But I had a blast playing them. I wouldn't not play them. I think they were super duper fun. The Gutbusters, on the other hand, were still, I don't want to call them point and click, right? They're a little bit more complex than that, but it wasn't hard to sort of decide what things needed to do. But I had enough pieces on the board at that point where I have 7, 8 units, whatever I have, and at that point it was better to say, all right, these guys are going to come up in a flanking maneuver, and these guys are going to go straight up the middle. These guys are going to hang back, and the gun line's going to move over this way. So there was a little bit more opportunity for strategy and maneuvering. So I think of the two, I like personally the Gutbuster version better on the tabletop, but both are fabulous. Both are super fun, and I'm glad we have both because I will definitely be playing both of them in the future at some point, or maybe mixing them. We could do that too.
The Gutbusters are so strong. They deleted the Gloomspite.
Yeah, I think that video probably just went up at the time here, but the Mawtribes spanked the Gloomspite. Spanked.
The Gloomspite got what, 3 points?
1.
And the Ogres got 8. Yeah,
in 2 rounds. Yeah, it was 1 to 8 at the end of 2. But I mean, the Gloomspite, and it wasn't the Gloomspite's fault because the Gloomspite, their book is actually really, really good.
Yeah,
there was just some good maneuvers and some good rolls really that helped. Because we played Gloomspite versus Daughters after that, and the Daughters got spanked.
That one we didn't record, but
no, we didn't record that one after. But that one was it was a rough time for the K-Knights. They had a bad day.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Ogres, if you are interested in a force that's more straightforward and that just gets into the combat, right? So for me, that's probably the most fun of the game, is just getting into the combat and seeing what happens and seeing who kills who. That's Ogres. They're going to get into the combat. They're going to have a good fight, and they're going to see what you can do. It is maybe, along with Iron Jaws, sort of the quintessential destruction force. It's like this is what it's going to be about. There's no frills, no bells and whistles, no fancy pants.
But they
maneuvering.
Do have fancy pants.
They have plain pants. At least the ones I painted have plain pants.
They have nice pants.
It is a fantastic army. It feels like Ogres on the tabletop. You feel like you're just marauding, hungry smashers. I mean, that's what the army feels like.
You can't kill them.
Well, you can. You just gotta do a lot of damage. Their save isn't great.
But their health.
But they have 4 wounds each, and that can be tough to chew through. All right, well, if you're wondering whether Ogres is worth picking up or worth starting, hopefully this has been helpful. Any final thoughts?
I'm picking up the Ogres.
Very good. Any final thoughts?
They're so strong.
Ogres are pretty good. Now, again, we're talking about from a casual perspective. We play only casually, so maybe at the tournament level, if you get in there, they have an Achilles heel, or maybe they're just not good at all in comparison to other things. So we're not saying that you buy this, you beat all your friends all the time. That's not what we're saying.
No, there is a way to beat them.
But it is a powerhouse on the table. You never feel like Daughters of Cain can feel a little glass cannony, right? Where you fling in your witch elves or you fling in stuff and do a bunch of damage, but you're pretty sure you're going to get murdered on the swing back, right? But you just do so much damage, you take down something big that the swing back's not, it's like, all right, they're like a bomb, a grenade, right? You throw them in, they blow up.
Yeah, they're like old Squidward. Yeah. Except old.
Well, Ogres don't feel like that. Ogres feel like you're just marching your meat up the table, and you're going to just clear it out. Clear it out.
They're like the janitors.
Yep. The hungry, hungry janitors. All right. Well, like I said, hopefully this has been helpful in deciding about the ogres. We'll be playing them again in the future, and we hope you watch. Thank you so much. This has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Yay.